They came like a bolt out of the blue to discuss everything in geekdom. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the attack of the 50-foot nerds.
Hello and welcome to this special episode of the Attack of the 50-Foot Nerds podcast. My name is Mike Bell. I am not joined by Paul or Amara today, but I am joined by a special guest. Now, this person has appeared on one previous episode that we've done as a brief kind of cameo, and also appeared on our Christmas special, where they were essentially the main guest star for our intro and outro sketches. Now, before I introduce this person, I just want to give you a little bit of background as to how I found them online initially. Now, when the first wave of the pandemic hit, in March, April of 2020, I was offered the opportunity to start working from home, which I gladly jumped at because, let's face it, who doesn't want to sit in their pajamas all day? So I decided, yeah, that's great. So came home, set my desk up, which was at the time, it was just two small side tables pushed together with barely enough room for my work laptop and my personal laptop. And that's all I needed. So I'd spend the day taking calls and surfing the net on my own laptop. And then looking at YouTube one day when it was quite quiet, I thought, right, what can I look for? And I'm a big fan of the Friday the 13th series. So I thought, yeah, let's see if there's anything on there. I know there's been a couple of fan films made recently. I forget the names of them off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure my guest will be able to fill me in on that shortly. So I'm looking for that. And then I stumbled across a video called 13 Unanswered Questions about Friday the 13th. So I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, this is quite interesting. Yeah, I've never thought about that before. And I'm thinking, what else has he done? I found another one, 13 Unanswered Questions about Nightmare on Elm Street. Big Freddy fan. So yeah, I'll have a go with those as well. And I noticed that he filmed the live action sequences, if you like, in front of the Elm Street house. I thought, oh, wow, this guy's actually close enough to be able to do this kind of thing. This is awesome. I looked at his channel and he'd been going for a number of years at this point. That channel was Movie Timelines. And I am now joined by Josh Spiegel himself, Mr. Movie Timelines. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back on the show.
It's good to have you. Last time we only had you briefly, as we were talking about movies from 2020 or 2021. I forget which one it was at this point. And you were kind of filling in the gaps that my co-hosts fell down on when it came to horror movies. Because Paul and Amara, not big horror movie fans. Yeah. So I think Paul watched something the other day, and I was thinking, how are you only just getting around to this now? And also, why are you watching a horror movie? Paul's a big letterboxd guy. He ranks everything that he sees.
Well, that's the funny thing is I'm actually there's so many things that I'm just getting around to seeing because of the channel. I find myself watching a lot of older movies that I often get in the weeds, and I don't end up watching the current stuff. So it's something that gets a little pushed on the wayside. But I've been trying to catch up on my horror of 2021 recently.
Well, you've got to you've got a series on your channel called Dead Last, and you did the Dead Last of Horror of 2020.
Yeah, we didn't do it. We didn't do a year in review of 2021. We just did
it just ended, really.
Yeah. But I don't know. Honestly, it just wasn't as much fun to do the horror of 2020 as
for one movie in particular.
Yes. Yes. Oh God, I know. But and I don't even think the 2021 there was a ton of great horror. There was a couple of really, really good movies, but the way that we did the 2020 episode was we did it by box office, and I did the 10 most successful horror movies, which, as you know, generally does not translate into the best movies.
No, not at all. So basically we just for this episode, before we delve into the channel itself, and we've got a couple of things to get through on our way there. Let's start at the beginning. So I know you're living in Los Angeles now, in the California area. Where did you grow up? Because I believe you've mentioned Pittsburgh previously.
Yeah, I actually grew up in. I've never been able to escape horror because I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I lived in an area just outside of a place called Monroeville, which is right where Monroeville Mall is from the original Dawn of the Dead. I worked in the mall from Dawn of the Dead for, most of my young life. My dad had a store in that mall. So the mall that you see in Dawn of the Dead is like the mall of my childhood.
Oh, wow.
And, the graveyard from the original Night of the Living Dead was not that terribly far away. So I grew up in the middle of horror. Where I lived, George Romero lived in the neighborhood. I would often see him. He and his wife would always go to this Chinese restaurant whenever we would go there. I feel like we'd always see George and his wife at this Chinese restaurant in Pittsburgh. Wow. So it was kind of cool. I never spoke to him. I kind of wish that I did now, but I never did. I always just
too nervous, or?
Oh, I didn't want to. He was eating. I didn't want to bug him. It's like you never want to bother somebody when they're eating.
No, true.
But then I
go ahead.
Then I moved to Los Angeles, and now I live about 2 blocks away from the Michael Myers house. So it's like, there's no escaping horror.
So what prompted the move out west then?
I had at the time, my best friend lived out here. My ex got a job out here, and it just seemed as if it was a really good opportunity for us to make a big move. And we did, and we moved out here together. She left, I stayed, and the rest is history.
Fair enough. Well, it's certainly a loss, because now you've got your missus and your child, and things seem great for you. So it worked out in the end, I guess.
Yeah.
And obviously now that you're in the area, I guess I don't know. I mean, the way it seems for us over here in the UK, it seems like, when we think of LA, we think that you can't walk around the streets around the corner without bumping into a movie set or something filming. Is that what it's like, or?
Yeah, you know what? It is kind of like that. I mean, it is, especially in the neighborhood that I live in. It is kind of hard to go anywhere without seeing a film set. But the reality of the film set is far, far more disappointing.
I know. I've been on enough. Yeah, it's people talk about 18-hour days. They don't talk about that. It's mostly 17 hours of sitting down while you're waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, well, and even just like when you're walking through your neighborhood, because where I live is a very suburban looking area in Los Angeles. It's a very much an area of LA that doesn't look like LA. Right. It's the neighborhood that Old School was filmed in. Back to the Future was filmed here. It's where like it's where the tree is. Yeah. The McFly house is literally about 3 blocks that away.
Wow.
So there's so many like little neighborhoody places here. So a lot of TV shows, movies film it, and they'll like substitute it for like Ohio or something like that. They just have to make sure there's no palm trees or mountains in the background.
You'd be surprised how many movies don't think about that though.
Yeah. But then the problem is just that, you're walking down the street and this sidewalk is closed off. They've got this street closed off, or it just kind of becomes a little bit of a traffic nightmare. And even if I'm like walking around, it's a little bit of a navigation. Although sometimes it's kind of cool. Like last year we were walking around. Me and my daughter were taking a walk, and we had the kids next door with us, and we were walking down the road, and some house was basically simulated. They were shooting a Christmas movie, and they had these gigantic snow machines, and they had put snow all over the yard and everything like that. So it looked like this big winter scene. So every once in a while you get those cool things like that. But for the most part,
we don't really get that where I live in Liverpool. Where I live is, like you say, it's like a suburban area. But like when you get into more like of the city centre, there's a lot of it that is still very Victorian in its way, and a lot of like English things that you see that are set in Victorian England are filmed in Liverpool. Like the TV series Peaky Blinders. I'm sure you guys get that over there. A lot of that is set in Liverpool, and rather filmed in Liverpool, and some of it is filmed just over the we have the River Mersey, just over in Birkenhead. The new Batman movie, for example, a lot of Liverpool is Gotham City. The Gotham Town Hall that you see in the trailer with all the pillars going along, that is St. George's Hall in Liverpool.
Oh, that's cool.
And so I mean, I used to drive past that every single day going to work, and now, you know, the bat signal was shone onto it recently. You know, it's crazy. My friend used to live down by the docks, and he had this old. It was an old factory that they converted into apartments, and I've been there a few times, and it's nice and it's good view and what have you. And he texted me one day a photo out of his window of these yellow New York taxis, but old, like 1940s vintage ones. I said, what are they filming something there? He says, yeah. He says, what are they filming? He said, well, Chris Evans just ran past. So they were filming Captain America, the scene when he chases the Nazis that sabotage the Vita Ray project. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. With
but the thing is, they didn't even block the street off. So of an evening, we just walked down the street and got photos with all these vintage cars and everything. It was great.
Oh,
no security. We could have just done whatever we wanted.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that's pretty much the extent of what we get is the odd Victorian thing, or, you know, something where they can kind of make something look something else. But like in terms of things actually filmed in Liverpool with it looking as Liverpool, it's very rare, very, very rare. I was watching something, and a TV drama that we had recently of I'm sure you're aware of the soccer disaster from '89, the Hillsborough disaster. A lot of people died. Yes. They just filmed a drama recently about a woman who was fighting for justice for the people who died, and I'm watching it, I'm thinking that looks familiar to me. And there was a section where they filmed at the train station, 2-minute drive from 2-minute walk rather from my mum's house. And I was like, I got the train there all the time. So it's very rare you actually see something as Liverpool, you know. But yeah. So anyway, getting back to talking about you, not about me. So obviously you're a big movie guy. So given the fact that, as you've mentioned previously, you're 70 years old, which you look very good for your age there, by the way.
Thank you.
What are your earliest movie experiences then?
You know what? It's funny. I talk about this, I guess, not super frequently, but I don't remember a lot of my youth. I kind of have a big blank spot on a lot of my young life, but I definitely remember some pretty formative things, but mostly from my teenage years. And the one thing I definitely recall is that I used to be terrified of horror movies. I used to not watch horror movies.
Same.
My
Absolutely
mom
the same.
Yeah.
I think it was 15, 16 when I started to dip my toe in. Probably.
Yeah. I wouldn't watch them, but I do. I have a very strong memory of what cured me of it, and it was a film called Scream Greats Volume 1, and I had an uncle that was a horror fan, and he showed it to me, and what it was is it was a documentary about Tom Savini and how he did the effects. And ever since watching that video, the horror movies didn't scare me anymore, because he would show how they would do it. He'd be like, oh, well, you know, in this shot we had the machete in the guy's head. All we did was a machete and we cut a little hole out and it just fits in over his neck. And from that point on, horror movies became a magic trick to me. It was like, oh, how did they do that? So
that is exactly how I describe it. That is exactly. I got interviewed for a newspaper once. We were doing a play and for advertising, and the reporter come along and she's saying about, like, okay, what made you prompt this, or what made you do that, blah blah blah. And saying, what kind of movies you like? I said, but I love horror movies because it's all a big magic trick. I mean, you're killing someone on screen, but you're not really killing them. So it's how do you do it? It's the art of distraction and what have you. And it's funny you should say about a video of like a compilation of special effects that got you into it, because strangely enough, that is exactly how I got into it too. Is I got a VHS off my parents. I think it was called just like Movie Special Effects Volume 2. I remember specifically it was Volume 2 because I was always thinking, well, where's Volume 1? And they showed how they did the helicopter crash into Nakatomi Tower in Die Hard 1. It's just a remote control helicopter and a model. They showed how they did the stop motion terror dogs for Ghostbusters. They showed something, some creatures from The Thing. And it's when you peek behind the curtain, that's what gets your taste for it, I guess.
Yeah, it just makes it fun. I mean, especially in the older movies where it was all done practically or in camera. Nowadays I feel like some of that magic is gone because the answer is always computers. It's like, oh, how did they do that? Computers. So some of that is gone. Computers are their own kind of magic trick, but it is that wonder of trying to figure out, like, oh, is that like a prosthetic, or is that like a animatronic? Like, what did they do? Like, that's kind of gone.
Yeah, it's. I mean, you do have the odd bit of puppeteering here and there, but not as much as they should be. I don't mind a little bit of CGI, but only if it's there to augment something.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I love practical effects. So when they did the, I'm never sure how to describe it as a prequel or a remake of The Thing from 2011.
Yeah.
I know it's technically a prequel, but it's basically a remake. Come on. And they filmed everything practically. And if they'd have just kept them in the movie and augmented them with CGI just to remove, like, puppeteers or rods or anything like that, it would have been great. But instead, someone looked at it and went, looks a bit old fashioned. Let's just CGI all over the top. And because it was rushed,
I can relate to that more than most, because those videos that you watch of the original practical effects being done, the bald guy in that video, that's my friend Mikey.
From Dead Last.
Yeah, he's on Dead Last. He worked on that Thing remake. He did quite a few of those effects. He sculpted some of those monsters. He helped build some of those monsters. And he, at the time when that came out, I was fairly new to Los Angeles, and me and Mikey had kind of just started hanging out together. We started hanging out. I met Mikey back in 2009. Is when we started to hang out, and that came out in 2011. And I remember him telling me about how cool it was going to be, and they were doing all this practical stuff, and they were really being true to the original. And then he was telling me, it's just like they're going, they took it all away. And he was so depressed about it. He's just, I don't even want to see it anymore. He's just like, because my work is gone. So it was a jarring kind of thing, especially to hear. And I'm glad he had shown me some clips of the stuff that they had did back in the day. And that stuff is now, it managed to make it online. You can actually do it. But it was kind of cool seeing it. Like, I felt like I was seeing something wrong, because he showed me, look, like no one will ever see this stuff.
I love seeing footage that they film, like, in the special effects houses when they're building the props and everything before they get to set, because you get to, like you see, you get to see how the sausage is made. And I love like all the behind the scenes footage for Evil Dead 2, for example, where it's the guys who would go on to perform KMB just dicking about with the props, but it's them testing things as well at the same time. It's always good fun to see.
I love that stuff.
I mean, it's like I don't really buy many DVDs or Blu-rays anymore, mainly because now that the studios are kind of more focused on streaming, what titles do come out don't really have the special features that they used to. Like, I'd buy a DVD. I went through a phase where when I used to work in retail when I was a lot younger, and every Friday I used to get paid. I'd finish work of an evening at 10 p.m. and I'd go drive home. I'd stop at the shop on the drive home and buy a DVD for myself. I buy a couple of beers or a bottle of chocolate milk. This is my big thing. I have some brownies and a DVD, and that'd be my evening. I'd just get in, have a few drinks, and then watch whatever movie I'd bought. And I say they used to become loaded with special. I remember Cabin Fever, the Eli Roth, the original version, not the god awful. Why did they remake it for exactly the same script version? I bought that for £5, which is nothing. It's like I always forget the conversion rate, which you guys like $10 or something like that. And it came packed with special features and full commentaries. For this movie that no one's ever really seen before. Well, it was great.
Well, you want to hear something weird? Because when DVD came out, I was all about the special features and everything like that. And I've since gone digital, and obviously digital, you don't get any special features. But I've actually reached a point where I guess because I have a lot of involvement in stuff behind the scenes, and the things I do are kind of behind the scenes, and I have so many friends that work behind the scenes, and my wife is behind the scenes. My wife is, in the film industry, and I got to a point where I don't like to watch the special features. Because I'm sorry. Because I really just want to watch the movie, and I want to I realized that the reason why I loved movies was because movies transport me to a different world, and they take me away from reality, and it's this cool little escape, that often makes me think and often makes me like interested in this whole other world that I can go to. And I realized that I hit a point where watching a lot of the behind the scenes and special features stuff it was actually taking that away from me for a little bit.
Yeah. You want the story, not the story behind the story.
Yeah. And I mean, I sometimes the behind the scenes stuff it's just too interesting to pass up. But for the most part, I've gotten to a point where I just want to watch a movie. And not like everything involved with making that movie. Although, like I said, sometimes that stuff's pretty interesting, but
like the Lord of the Rings, for example, when they brought those extended editions out, and they had 2 bonus discs each, and the lengths that they went to film those movies, you can't not watch those special features. Yeah. But some movies, like, I don't need to see how Halloween 2018 was made. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. Yes. I'd rather just watch a story, of that one, not the other one. So, so you don't remember what was the first movie you saw at the cinema then?
I do not. No. I can tell you that I can tell you what people have told me. My mom has a pretty interesting story about me going to see Alien, but not like in the theater. I think after it had been out for a little while. Because my mom used to work at a school, and I guess they were doing a screening at her school. So she took me and my sister. We were little kids, and I don't quite remember how old I was though. But and I guess she said that I was like, I just had my head buried in the seat the entire time. So
I can't imagine a school showing Alien.
Well, it was a college. She worked at a college.
Right. Okay.
Have, like movie nights or whatever. So
right.
I think it was like
makes a little more sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But still, it's crazy. I can't imagine taking kids to go and see that movie. That's insane. I was trying to think about this recently, as because in the job that I do, one of the things I have to ask people is like a security question sometimes, is what is the first movie you saw at the cinema? And some of the answers I get, I think, God, I'm so old if that's the first movie you saw. But then I think if they give me other answers, I'm like, wow, I haven't thought about that movie in years. And it made me think about what mine has been. I can't pinpoint it. I really can't. There's no point asking my parents because they won't remember. Yeah, they're useless with movies. But I can remember going to see, I think we went to see The Little Mermaid, which my sister obviously would have picked out, not me. Yeah. But so I vaguely have memories of that, but whether or not we went to see anything before that, I don't know. But when I see some movies, I'm just like, that rings a bell, but I don't quite get it. So I genuinely don't know myself. And I know what one my daughter saw, because I took her to it. But that's all. I'll remember that one if she ever asks when she's older.
I have weird kind of half memories of going to see movies. I remember, I vaguely remember going to see Howard the Duck. I think my family was one of the few families in the world that actually went to the theater to see that. When a bomb it was. I distinctly remember, it's weird because it is one of the fewer like very sharp memories I have, that I believe one of the first movies that I went to without my parents, where it was like me and a friend got dropped off to go see the movie, was Little Shop of Horrors.
What a movie. One of my favorites.
One of my favorite movies of all time. Yeah.
Did I ever I don't think I ever showed you what I got for one of the presents I got for Danny for Christmas. Is a couple of years ago for Christmas. She bought me tickets to, there's a small little indie movie theater here in Liverpool, and there's like maybe 20 seats, if that. And it's just this performance space, but the guy puts movie screenings on, and he's got what he considers to be the last remaining video rental shop in the UK. Yeah. And he's got tons of VHSs, and you can rent an old CRT TV, you can rent a VHS player and whatever movies you want. Well, also at the back, next to the VHS shop, if you like, he's got a full-size, like you can walk in it. It's Mushnick's flower shop, complete with a full-size Audrey 2 in the corner. And he puts on screens the movie of Little Shop of Horrors, and he has actors, kind of like they do with Rocky Horror. He has actors in front of the screen acting out the movie as they go along. And during the pandemic, he wasn't able to do that. So she bought me tickets to like this performance of Little Shop, which got cancelled. So, and it's never been put back on since. But to get by, he's making and selling small little Audrey 2s. And so I bought one for Danny for Christmas. I'll send you a photo of it. It's pretty cool. That's just sitting on our coffee table right now downstairs.
I've got this.
I'd love a Funko Pop of that actually, but I mean, it's only made out of like fake leaves and molded polystyrene that's painted and everything, but it looks spot on. It really does look spot on. Well,
I have a good Little Shop story for you. That's something that I guess I don't talk about a lot on the channel. Is that I am I used to be. It have not been so much recently, but I'm a karaoke addict. Love to do karaoke. I used to be in a band. I used to sing in a band and everything. I still like to sing, but I don't like the whole band stuff. So going to do karaoke is just fun. It's just silly. And me and Christy, my wife, we used to go to this one karaoke spot every single Friday, like clockwork. Every Friday we were there. It was our routine. We'd go get sushi. We'd go to karaoke. And we became friends with the karaoke guy and everything like that. And he was great. And one night I karaoke'd. They had Mean Green Mother. So I karaoke'd it because I can do the Audrey voice fairly well. It's like I just kind of do an Audrey voice or the Audrey 2 voice. And afterwards, me and the karaoke dude talking, he's just like, he's just like, I love that movie. He's just like, I've always wanted to like do a duet of Suddenly Seymour, but no one will ever duet it with me. And he was just like, and he was asking my wife, Christy, because I think he wanted her to duet and be Audrey. And she's like, oh, I don't really know that movie. I don't know that song. And I looked at him, I said, I'll do it. He's like, but no, I need someone to do Audrey. I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. I can do Audrey. He's like, really? So I went up there and I started doing, and I sang in the voice, and and I did that thing because I could kind of hit those notes, and so I did it. And afterwards, he was like, that was amazing. And every single Friday after that point, I wouldn't even know what it would be. I would just suddenly hear, it's just like, all right, I'm gonna do Suddenly Seymour now. Where's Josh? And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going up. So that became the thing, was me doing Audrey's part of Suddenly Seymour.
Nice. I like it. I back about 10 years or so more myself, actually. I used to do karaoke every Friday night. I used to, in the old theatre company I was with, we rehearsed on a Friday. As soon as we were finished, we'd all head down to this tiny little pub, and they did karaoke. And basically, it was just me and my friends would go in, and we just dominate karaoke all night. People in the corner trying to enjoy a drink. We're, a bunch of theatre kids all getting up there and singing. And, back then, I could hit those kind of notes too. So my friend was a big Scissor Sisters fan. So because I could hit those notes, I'm doing all that. So yeah, that was fun. But I remember I was there one night, and because one of my big ones that I used to do was, I don't know if you guys got this song, but it was actually featured in an episode of Loki recently. The Wonderwall by Oasis. There was a guy did a cover of it. Mike Flowers Pops did like a lounge version of Wonderwall, really? And that's my karaoke song. I love that.
That's awesome.
And so I used to sing that every time I was there, and then I'd sing the odd thing. I sung like what did I say? It's Not Unusual by Tom Jones. I remember singing that one time. the karaoke guy, because we got on good terms with him, he'd just spring things on me. You think, Michael would be good singing that. So he sprung that on me, and then there was one day he sprung on me Common People.
Oh yeah.
And I like that song, but I like the original version. I like the William Shatner version better.
I know.
Which version did I sing that night? So I sung that. I've also sung. I told people I was getting up to sing one song, and then Rick Astley's "Never Gonna Give You Up" came on instead. So I did a live Rick roll.
That's nice.
So, yeah, that was good fun.
My trademark used to be El DeBarge's "Rhythm of the Night" was my like go-to.
Yeah, I made that for ages. So getting back to so you're living in LA now, and then you ended up doing something that I've dreamed of for many years. You made a movie.
Yes.
So How on earth did that come about?
Well, it's funny because it kind of came about. It kind of came about because of professional jealousy. A friend of mine who's an actor invited me over to his place because these people were doing like a script read through. He's just like, I don't know. He's like, I think they're doing like a read through. It might be like an audition. I know that they have parts that they're casting. So I went over and they had this script and we did this whole read through of the script. And it was just a couple guys. They were planning to shoot it for a couple $1,000s, like super, super low budget. And they were just like the one guy said is like, yeah, well, I mean, we know enough people in this town that, want to make a movie and want to get something going, but just aren't getting something going. So we just thought that we would just get together and make something. So I did the read through and I thought I did a pretty good job of it. But then I was told afterwards that like, they were like, thank you for reading that part. The guy that we cast couldn't be here tonight. And I was like, okay, well, all right.
Yeah.
But after leaving that, I kept thinking, it's just like, well, I mean, if these guys are doing it, like, I mean, I know enough people. I know my one friend will run a camera. Like, I mean, I know some light. Like, I know some dudes will do the lighting, and my friend Tyson loves to do sound work, and I know so many actors. Why aren't we making a movie? And I just started to write a script, and I wrote the script based around locations that I had access to and people that I knew and their acting skills. It was, I mean, almost every single role in the movie was written specifically for the person that played it. And we just ended up shooting the movie for a couple $1,000s. I think it costs, we don't really know because of the food and everything like that, but it costs somewhere between $5,000 and $10,000. But it was a crazy project. I was working a full-time job at the time, but what I would do was I had amassed a couple of weeks of vacation per year. So all I would do is I would just schedule. I made my own schedule. I would schedule myself off to be off Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I would take a vacation day on Thursday. So I had 3 days off every week for a month, and then we would just, starting on Tuesday morning, the crew would come over to my place, and we just start filming and start shooting, and we'd go until the evening. Next day, start again, and then the next day start again. And we did that for 1 month, and then 1 week, because I think we did it for 15 days total. The shoot was 15 days. And we just pretty much shot through all those days. And when we get towards the end, it's funny because I think the last week, our days were really short because we didn't have a whole lot left. We were like, we need to get this shot. We just need to go to this. We need to go to this park and film this scene. It's pretty short. And then finished it, had all the footage, and just started to compile it together. And I edited it all together and did all the sound work and everything, and all the post stuff. That's just me. Then we released it. We got it released. We did a premiere here in Los Angeles, which was one of the most surreal experiences of my entire life, standing outside of a theater and watching somebody walk up. That the movie's called The Complex, and watching somebody go up to the ticket booth and saying, 2 for the Complex, please. And my head just exploding. And it's funny because the movie had, we did that, and then we did a Pittsburgh premiere about a month and a half later. We flew out to Pittsburgh and we did it for the friends and family out there. And then the movie just sat there for a while. And I tried to get it into some festivals and got no response, and looked for some people to view it and got no response. And the funny thing is I sent it to a site. I don't know if it's still in existence, but it's Film Threat, which used to be a magazine back in the day.
Yeah.
They were a website, and they actually did a review of it, and their review was middle of the road. I think they gave it like 2.5 out of 5 stars, and they were just like, it's good. It's got some great ideas, but it's just it's too long. It takes forever to get where it's going. And I was just like, maybe that's what's wrong with the movie. Maybe it's just too long. So I went back in and I cut out 20 minutes of the movie, and rearranged a couple of things, and I just had it get to the main plot faster. And literally a month after I did that, it got into a film festival, and and in that film festival, it won 4 awards. So I'm just like, okay, all right, thank you, Film Threat, for panning my movie and telling me what I need to fix.
Sometimes you're too close to it, I guess. Yeah.
So and then after that, it got into several different film festivals, and it played around. We had a 3-week run at a movie theater in North Carolina. It was kind of an odd thing. Played at a Comic-Con in the Phoenix Comic-Con. They did a film festival and it played there. And just played a bunch of places, but it never really took off or anything like that. But I'm pretty happy with
it's something you can sit back and say, I made that.
Yeah.
And if a bunch of strangers are sitting there enjoying it, then you've done your job in getting it out there, I guess. So so the version that's up on your YouTube channel, because people can go and watch this if they want, it is on Josh's channel. So is that the edited version or the director's cut?
It's the shorter version. It's the shorter version. I'm actually calling the director's cut because it's the one that I prefer. I do think it's better. It's leaner.
So you're Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
You're cutting stuff out, and that's your version, right?
Yes, yeah. I feel like it makes it the stuff that we cut out was not super necessary. It was like there's a couple of scenes I like that I think are fun scenes. There's a whole character that's cut out. She's still in the movie in like one scene. You can kind of see her in the scene, but she had like multiple scenes of dialogue, and that they're all gone. So, but that version we did do a DVD press back in the day, and the longer version is on the DVD. So I know some people still have that version, but now it just exists in the shorter version.
So collector's item, anyone who's got that, I guess.
I know. There's 100 of them out there somewhere.
So, I mean, the complex just celebrated its 10-year anniversary, I believe. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You had a viewing party for members of your Movie Timeline's Patreon. Unfortunately, it was too late for myself in the UK to take part on, but I did dip in and say hello just briefly before bedtime. But yeah, so how did that go?
I thought it went really well. It's kind of fun. We had me there, Christy, my wife, who is a big part of the movie. She's basically the female lead of the movie. And my friend Clay, who's the male lead of the movie. And Clay was an employee of mine back in the day, and I thought he was a lot of fun and a good actor. And the part was specifically written for him. He and I stay in touch. He lives in Florida now. We're still in touch pretty frequently, and he's been on a couple of Dead Last episodes as well. And he came on too, so it was kind of fun, just even reminiscing and talking about some of the stuff that we did in shooting the movie, and some of the stories about some of the crazy like environments that we were in, because there was just odd, because it was me and the crew. Basically, they just crashed at my house. So there'd be like people on the floor, on the couches or whatever like that, and just all sleeping, and we just wake up and start shooting. Just shoot until evening, and then go to sleep, wake up and do the same thing again the next day.
Sounds fun. I mean, making a movie is something that I've wanted to do for the longest time. My hard drive is just riddled with scripts that I've written over the years. And there's a few that I'm just like, yes, I would love to make that. That is the one. But then I start to budget, and I'm thinking, there's no way I can ever put the money for it. Like, I've got one that's got a car chase in it. I was like, how could I ever film a car chase? That'd be ridiculous. So then, like, I've pared things down lower and lower. And then to the point where I've got one script now but I'm really happy, and it's actually based on the 50 Foot Nerds podcast, actually. Oh, nice. So there's a lot of jokes in there, and a lot of stuff from character things that we've done over the years, and that I would be very happy to make into a movie. That it actually came this close to being made into a stage play at one point, but unfortunately we were never able to do it. So it's still there, and one day, you never know, if I can get enough money together, if I can get the right people together, who knows?
Yeah,
maybe I'll be able to do that myself. But I mean, fair play to you. You got it done. So yeah.
Well,
it's
and
great.
And the goal for this year is to make another one. Starting the process, again, taking advantage of environments that I have access to and things that I have access to, and just trying to make. Just honestly, the only thing that's keeping me from doing it is just the time element. But that's on the agenda for this week, for this year.
Oh, good. That's actually what was going to be my next question. Are you going to make another?
I have been joking about this for a while, and I figured it's time to actually do it. Is one of the things that I make fun of the most on my channel is all of the unofficial Amityville movies, because it's just you can make any movie nowadays and just slap the title Amityville on it. And I just keep joking and saying, like, why aren't I making my own? Why should I? Why can't I make an Amityville movie?
You do realize you're gonna have to add it to one of the timeline videos, though, and update.
I know. So, of course, why not? A little self promotion, right?
Exactly.
But I thought it would be kind of fun to do one where it's quarantine based, where it's me in the movie, because I don't want to pay an actor, so I can
exactly.
I don't have to pay myself. And I basically, like, what happens when in the middle of lockdown, if you're in lockdown and there's a ghost, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
Not bad.
Mm-hmm. So that's the general, the short version of it, but it gets a little bit more elaborate than that.
I don't know if you listened to the last episode of 50 Foot Nerds that we put out, where we had a story on there about a woman who was on a blind date in China, and this guy had said, "Oh, come over to my house. I'll cook you a lovely meal." And when she goes over, the neighborhood got put into a sudden lockdown, so she couldn't leave this guy's house for a week. This guy she's never met before.
Talk about a first date, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, to go into a sudden lockdown and with something that you really want to get out of there, but you can't. That sounds like it's a good idea. So we'll move on then to the actual how I met you in the first place. Then is the YouTube channel Movie Timelines. So I mean, what made you decide to sit down one day and go, do you know, I'm going to figure out how all these movies are connected and does it hold up?
Well, it's funny because it actually started with a different web series and a different channel. I was really just looking for some sort of a creative outlet. Like, I just needed to do something. It had been a while since we had made the movie. It felt like I needed to make something, and there was a list in one of the Los Angeles magazines called the 100 Things That You Need to Eat in Los Angeles Before You Die. And I had kind of committed myself. I'm like, well, I want to try all of these things. And Christy said, well, why don't you film it? So we decided to do this little show called Eat or Die, where it was like we would go to these restaurants and eat these foods and see if they were actually everything that were hyped up to be, or if it was like whatever. And we did about like 10 episodes. But what I found out is that when you do a show and you want to have commitment to it, you got to have somebody that is just like very much wants to do it. So it got very difficult to get Christy to film. She wanted to go eat the food, but then to do all the scripted stuff, to do all the green screen stuff, all that stuff was very, very hard to get her to do. And even now, because I have her on some Dead Last episodes, it's very tough to get her motivated to do it. She usually watches all the movies for Dead Last like 2 days before we film. But so I kind of fired her. So it's got to be too tough to do the series. So I was just like, all right, well, like this just isn't working for the time frame. And so we kind of canceled it. I mean, yeah, and it was getting a little bit tough to make anyway. But I had been watching the Friday the 13th movies, and it was one movie in particular that triggered the whole concept, which was part 7, because in part 7 there's a very drastic time jump in it, and and I was watching all the movies in order, and when they had the time jump, all I could think about was that this is like 10 years later. And then I had realized that they had shown some dates in the previous movies. Like, they explicitly show a tombstone in part 4 that shows a date on it. So it just got my mind thinking. well, then what year is this in? Like, when is this supposed to take place? I wonder if that all works out.
Yeah.
So I went back and I started to watch it again, specifically trying to figure out what year each one took place in. And I thought that would be a fun video to make. So I made that video. I was only intending to make that one single video, but I enjoyed doing it so much that I said, well, maybe I should do some more of these. I think the gap between the first and second episode is like it's over a month, because that I was not producing things that quickly then, and it wasn't a thing. And then it just continued going, and it became my hobby. And I was just like, this is so much fun to do, and I'm really having a good time doing this. I was working like a 40+ hour a week job at the time. I didn't have a kid. It was just me and Christy. And, but Christy goes to bed early and I'm up very late. And I had this like 3-hour period of time in the evenings of like, what should I do with this time? And it just became my evening hobby. I was just like, all right, this is what I do at night. I watch these movies. I take all these notes, and I'll shoot this stuff, and then I'll edit it. And it just kind of got carried away, and the people started watching it, and it started getting subscribers, and it just turned into a thing, and now it's what I do.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of, I mean, like you say, there was a gap between the first ones, and then now you're a machine. You're pumping out like 2 episodes a week at a minimum, and there's the range of content as well. You're not just doing the horror movie timelines. You're doing other things. You've got your failure to launch series. You've got Dead Last, as we mentioned there, where with the help of the patrons and stuff, you rank movies from best to worst, or vice versa. And you've had other things on the channel over the years where you've had, for example, Monster Brawl, which was from last year, I believe, was it?
Yeah, it was last year.
No, I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed that, and the little characters that you invented for it as well. No, I really did. I'm not going to bullshit here. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it, and I say the characters, you could tell you were really having fun with it, and it's a pity that it didn't catch fire as some of the other ones have done.
Yeah, well, yeah, I gotta say, Monster Brawl is probably one of my favorite things that I've done. It's probably the most pure comedy writing that I've done for the channel, because the whole thing is just jokes. I mean, it's just jokes, just doing jokes and characters, and I like to do voices and I like to do characters, so it was kind of fun to do that whole thing. And but it just was not watched. I mean, they are some of my least watched videos on the entire channel. So the planned sequel, the season 2 of it, never really came to fruition. Although I may end up coming back to it at some point, just give it another try, just for me. But yeah, it is funny, because like I think that it was a 2 years back or so that I really sat back and said, okay, I think that I really like doing the timelines, but I'm gonna run out eventually.
Yeah, you can't live off that alone, I guess.
Yeah, and I thought it might be kind of fun to try something different. And the idea for Dead Last came about. That was like the first thing that came about, where I was watching somebody been like, oh, this is what I think the best Friday the 13th are. And they were just ranking the videos. And I just really remember thinking, yeah, but like, this is just one guy. But like, what if you like asked everybody, if you asked a whole bunch of people and you did like an aggregate? And so that became the genesis of that, is like trying to figure out if we could find like almost like a consensus on these movies.
Because everyone always says like, oh, the general consensus is this movie's the worst. And it's just like, well, who took that poll?
Yeah, yes, exactly. And then what's funny is in sitting down to watch, the very first episode we did was Friday the 13th, and sitting down to watch all of the movies for that video, was watching it, and it was actually in the second movie that it started, because at the ending of the second movie you've got Paul, and Paul is possibly dead, but they never explain what happens to the character. And I just remember writing down, because I was taking notes for the Dead Last episode, and I just wrote down what happened to Paul. And then after that, I just started watching and thinking about other questions, like, wait, what is that all about? And then in doing Dead Last, the concept for doing the unanswered questions videos just came out of that. It was like a weird side product of it that ended up becoming more popular than Dead Last. The unanswered questions videos are some of my most popular videos.
It's what got me into the channel. I really enjoyed them. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah,
it makes you think of things that you just take for granted in the movie, and it's go, hang on, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but you find a way to make them make sense most of the time, anyway.
Yeah, it's funny because it's I think the one, it's like the video that people get the most kind of like, I guess, like offended by. Not I think offended is the wrong word to use, but it's like they're like, it's just a movie, man. It's just a movie. Like these things don't need answered. It's just a movie. And I always just want to be like, yeah, I know, I get that. But it's fun. I mean, how is it not fun to just like, well, how would that work? Let me just see if I can figure that out. I mean, I'm not taking it seriously. Like, I don't think that the filmmaker, like, whenever I have like a weird theory about it, it's not like I'm thinking that the filmmakers planned that into there. This is just me having some fun and thinking like, wouldn't that be cool? That's what this was all about. But I don't know. Some people get mad about that, I guess.
It's like when you watch a movie and you're watching a sequel to a movie, and maybe it's like 4 or 5 movies in or something, and they just go, aha, well, that thing from the first movie means that this can happen. I'm just like, yeah, they didn't think of that 6-7 years ago when they made that movie.
Yes,
that'd be ridiculous.
Yes, Well, it's kind of like, it's kind of like my most recent video, the Scream video. There's a scene where the killer's in a supermarket, and it's like, who is that? Who's supposed to be?
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of people have pointed out that they're like, oh, well, there's an ice cream brand called Romantica, and that's them letting us know that killer is like they're foreshadowing that killer is Roman from the third movie. And it's just like, no. That's in the first movie. They didn't even know there was going to be a third movie. They didn't.
Well, in that case, then romantic. Oh, it's here, Bo. It's Billy. No, shut up. It just happened to be what was in the ice cream case at the time.
Well, and plus, the character of Roman wasn't even thought up. Like the character of Roman was only come up with. First of all, the character of Roman was come up with by a different writer, not even Kevin Williamson, but. They was only come up with because their original idea they had to scrap and they had to change everything. So clearly they weren't planning it back in Scream 1. So that
they weren't even planning a sequel to Scream, let alone Scream 3.
Exactly.
It's like Halloween 2018. I don't want to go back to that again, especially its sequel. But 2018 should have just ended. Yes. There was and it should have definitively ended with Michael is dead. You want to do a sequel? You want to end the story? End the story. Don't go, well, maybe he might survive the fire and then give us 2 more sequels to end the story, because it won't end the story. We know it won't end the story. He's a box office draw. Friday the 13th, the final chapter. How many more movies have we had since then? Was it 8 more at this point?
But Mike, money.
True. True. I'm saying this, as a viewer, if I were, say, the head of the studio, maybe a little bit different. Yeah, but then again, I remember that the Scream movies were put out by Dimension, so maybe not the head of that particular studio. I don't know.
Yes.
So I mean, we mentioned there the unanswered questions. So are they your favorite videos to do for the channel, or is it the timelines themselves?
Oh no, unanswered questions are my least favorite videos to do. Oh, really? They're the most interesting to do. But oh my God, the amount of time and effort that it takes to do those, the easiest videos to do are the timeline videos. They're quick, they're simple, they're pretty easy.
You could just watch the movie, write down some dates, done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Write down the movie, pay attention, watch it, blah blah blah. Editing, very simple, just chronologically, blah blah blah. Yeah. Dead Last is pretty complex to edit as well, but it's not that complicated. But unanswered questions, first of all, it requires me to really, really, really think and like kind of try and figure out like different ways to approach these movies. And plus, like, I want to try to come at this from an avenue that I haven't seen like 20 other YouTubers do the same take on. So I'm trying to like think of fresh things to talk about, and then really coming up with these different like theories and scenarios to kind of make them work. And then the editing process is always just like a bunch of random clips from different things. And the unanswered questions video, I use the most like clips and things like that from other things to kind of bring into it, instead of just like, oh, well, here's some clips from the movie. So it's one of the most complex things to shoot and to edit. They're a pain in the butt. I'm shooting some footage for an upcoming episode of those earlier, like a little bit later today. So just trying to knock that out, but that'll be out next Friday.
Well, we look forward to that then. I know what you mean about like it's a hassle sometimes what you do in the videos. It's like before 50 Foot Nerds kind of rebooted, I feel like I was all set to go with a channel of my own. I was literally just going to call it the 50 Foot Nerd, because it was me going solo, and the other guys, I thought 50 Foot Nerds was dead and gone at that point, but luckily we were able to resurrect it. But for that channel, I'd come up with a concept for a series called Crossover, which I may still do on the 50 Foot Nerds channel. I don't know at this point. But what I did is I'd take two movies or series that were completely unconnected, and I would cross them over. Like, what would the crossover movie be? And for the first episode that I wrote and I scripted, and I was doing a Ghostbusters crossed with the movie Ghost. And so what would happen if the Busters were brought in to catch Patrick Swayze? And I wrote that, I recorded it, I edited it, it's done, it's ready to go. But I was just waiting to launch the channel, and then Ghostbusters Afterlife came out. Now I had avoided all spoilers for that movie, and I watched that movie, and I was just like, God damn, it's so close to what I had written. Except obviously no Patrick Swayze, and mine didn't revolve around kids. But it's like, in terms of like getting the band back together, setting everything up again, and the whole Ivo Shandor, and the gateway to hell and everything like that. That's all in my story. And I was just like, damn it. I mean, great minds, I guess. That kind of bodes well for the rest of the series, because it's a good one. I had this one is kind of still in the scripting phase, but I had Indiana Jones meets Agent Carter, which I thought would be a good one. So, it's right time period. So
exactly, it works out well.
Yeah, so it may still happen at some point. I don't know, but So I know what it's like when you say, like, you put a lot of work into these things, and sometimes they don't hit the way you want them to. Yes. So what would you say is your favorite thing that's happened because of the channel then?
Oh my God. My favorite thing that's happened because of the channel is honestly the Patreon page. I feel like a lot of YouTube creators have a Patreon page, and I had a Patreon page, and for a while there it was just, hey, here's some extra money to help me get this stuff made. But then doing the Dead Last episodes that involved the patrons, and became an interesting way of like, okay, well, I can get my patrons involved. It's like, this is something that they can do, and they can be a part of this, and they can contribute to these rankings. And it has turned into this really cool little community of people that just like to talk about horror and chit chat. I mean, we've have a little Discord server that we chit chat on. We do Zoom calls and just hang out and talk about horror movies and stuff. And I did not ever plan to really for this to happen. I'm just like, oh my God, now I've got a whole bunch of cool like horror friends, and they just go and we talk and we hang out and make fun of horror movies and talk about the ones we love. And it's been great. I mean, the people that are there are great. I consider them my friends, and I consider one of my friends, and it's very cool to have that happen, especially when I was not expecting it. I just thought it'd be a cool little thing to offer the patrons to do, and it's obviously turned into so much more.
Well, from this side of it, I'm sure I speak for everyone else that we're all grateful that you did, set up this, I say, this little community, and it's great. You know, it's because the thing is, like, the internet can connect you and make you realize that there's a lot more people out there like yourself than you realize.
Yes.
And it does build our community, like you say. And as much as, you know, me and Danny, we both love horror movies. Like, I don't need to watch them 24/7. She can happily watch them 24/7. That's why I got her a Shudder subscription for Christmas.
Yeah.
So she can happily just. I'm sure that's what she's doing downstairs while I'm here. But, you know, I like to mix it up. I like to watch comedy movies, sci-fi, action. So, like, but when I do watch my horror movies, I'm just like, oh, I really want to, like, talk about this. And she'll watch a movie, and then after time she'll forget she's even seen it. Like, we watched Night of the Creeps a little while ago, and I was talking to her about it the other day. I was like, oh, do you remember that movie with Night of the Creeps? No. So then, yeah, you know, the one with the slugs that go in. I was like, it's a bit like Slither, and she was like, I'd never seen either of those movies. I'm like, you have, because we've watched them together. Yeah. So, but like with you guys, like, yeah, I could talk about that with you, and you'll totally get what I'm talking about. You know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, and you say with The Dead Lasts, I mean, there's been a couple where I've not had time to watch all the movies, so I've not been able to put my rankings in. But like for the one that's upcoming, the one that you've just closed the submissions for that, I believe, I didn't even need to rewatch those movies. I know exactly what my rankings were straight away, so I could get that in. And you know, you do sometimes you take people from the Patreon and put them on the Dead Last panel. Mm-hmm. And I've said to you before now, Evil Dead movies, my favorite movies. It's just a pity there's not enough movies for them to be able to do a Dead Last on, because I'd love to be on that panel.
Oh no, we're doing an Evil Dead one.
Are we?
Yeah, wow. No, that's official. That it will be as soon as I find out when Evil Dead Rise is going to be, but it's not going to be just Evil Dead. It's going to be.
I was going to say how.
Yeah, so we're doing
not that Evil Dead House from Italy, not those weird ones, the spin-off ones.
No, I'm going to do a theme one, kind of like we did with Scream, because there was not enough Scream movies to do a Dead Last one. And like the minimum requirement for Dead Last is 8 movies. So we're doing Evil Dead 2, Army of Darkness, and the Evil Dead remake. So there's 4. And then we're going to do Demons.
Okay.
Demons 2. And then Night of the Demons, the 3 Night of the Demons movies, and the remake. So
right, okay, got
so
some work cut out for me there. Then
10. So it's basically a whole demons theme of people versus demons.
Okay,
and honestly, there's some really good movies in there because I love Night of the Demons, and Night of the Demons 2 is fun. Night of the Demons 3 is not that great, but
gonna be interesting in that, because I mean the Demons movies. I'll be honest with you, I think I've seen maybe Demons 1, but I can't remember if I've seen the others. So that's gonna give me a lot to watch and a lot to think over there about how they compare up to the Evil Dead movies, because you know I lived for years with a Evil Dead 2 poster on the back of my bedroom door, to the point where my daughter, when she was little, would not go in that room. She'd be terrified of that poster.
Evil Dead's one of my favorites. I mean, I've got Ash. Oh, you can't see it, but Ash is up on the wall back there. I've got a little Ash. I've got a little Ash right here with me.
I've got that one. Yeah.
But so Evil Dead's probably one of my favorite series of all time. It's funny because I don't quite know how that ranking is going to go, but
it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one.
No, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I think I've probably got one of the strangest. I don't even know how to describe it, but yeah, I don't know if you remember a few years, well, it would have been about 10, 15 years ago now. They re-released the movies, but yeah, they did it with Evil Dead 1 first of all. They released it in the Book of the Dead as like the case.
Yeah.
As like a rubberized case. They did that for Evil Dead 1. Then they did it again for Evil Dead 2. And then they did it again for Army of Darkness, but only in Australia.
Oh, really?
And I imported that from Australia just so I could have all 3 versions.
Oh, that's cool.
And I met Marcus Gilbert, who plays King Arthur, rather, at a Doctor Who convention I was working at several years ago. And he has signed my Army of Darkness Book of the Dead.
Awesome.
But not just signed it, he wrote like a full letter thanking me for being a fan and working at there, because I did some video for him at the Doctor Who convention on what have you, and I've done a few bits for him since privately. And he wrote a full like letter in the book, you know, thanking me for everything. And it's, you know, that's one of the things I'm going to hold dear.
Yeah.
And when I met Bruce Campbell several years ago at a book signing, I got him to sign my Evil Dead 1 So the way I think about it, if I ever meet Ted Raimi, he's doing Evil Dead too.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So you got your male lead, then you. I mean, Ted, he's the main villain, but technically, is he the male co-star of that movie?
I guess
obviously you've got Jake, you've got Ed. So, yeah, I guess. But yeah,
I've got a great. So I used to work at a mall here, at a store in a mall here, and it's a mall that is not a lot of people go there, and because of that, it is what we call the secret celebrity mall. And
right.
I always tell people whenever they're just like, well, where do you go in LA to see famous people? I'm just like, just go to the Beverly Center. No one's ever there. So celebrities go there because they won't be bothered, because tourists don't go there. So therefore celebrities go there. So I worked at this store, and probably once a week we had somebody pretty famous come in, and I would take care of them because we sold high-end luggage, and celebrities come in and get all kinds of high-end luggage.
Yeah.
And the one day was there, and and when celebrities came in, we were very, like, I had very strict rules of like, leave them alone. Wait on them just like any other customer. Just treat them like anybody else. That's it. Just they're customers.
They're just shopping. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So that's the way we treated everybody. And everyone's like, I'd say, if you want to make a mention about something that they're in, that's fine. Just don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, of course.
So Beth Davids came in.
Okay.
And she was shopping, and she ended up buying a bunch of stuff. And everyone was all excited because of her in oh my god, what's the movie with the little girl? No, the little girl movie that she's in.
I don't know.
It's a little girl's name. I can't believe I'm forgetting it now. She's the teacher in it anyhow. But regardless, they were all talking about that.
I'm not going to look. It's too much effort to look it up right now.
Yeah. So we're talking to her and everything again, just normal stuff. Just talk about blah blah blah. She buys the stuff, and as I'm bringing her out, I said, you know what? I said, I don't normally do this. I said, but I have to comment on this because I figure you don't get this that often. But Army of Darkness is a fantastic movie. And she was like, "Oh my god, isn't it?" She's like, "No one ever mentions that one to me." I was just like, "Yeah." I said, "It's one of my favorites, and I love it." She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, it's so much fun. It's such a crazy movie." So she was very excited that one got mentioned. So,
well, several years ago when I first met Marcus, I asked him because Ash vs Evil Dead, I think the first season was airing at the time or was just about to air. So I said to him, obviously, with the show coming back now, I think actually no, season 1 must have aired, and I think they were talking about season 2 because I remember them saying that Ellen Sandweiss was coming back. I was like, if they can bring Cheryl back, is there any way that King Arthur? Because obviously, time travel. So is there any way we could see King Arthur in the show? He's like, I've not heard anything, but if I do, you'll be the first to know. I think obviously he didn't turn up in the show, but the Knights of Kandar did eventually, and he's going to be in the new game. This new game for PS4, PS5. They are bringing Marcus Gilbert in to be King Arthur again, and it's great because he dropped out of the limelight. He dropped out of like acting for a long time. He had some family stuff going on, so it was a bit of a shame. But he auditioned for James Bond once upon a time. He was up for it when Pierce Brosnan was, so he was close. So yeah, it's pity he never got to be bigger than he is. So.
Well, that was one of my biggest professional jealousies, is the fact that my wife got to work with Bruce Campbell, and she actually worked with him every day.
I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, she said it was super nice. He was very nice.
I met him briefly at a book signing. He was very nice to me. He complimented my shirt. So
yes.
So cause I was wearing like a Hawaiian shirt kind of thing. Him in his flamboyant shirts. Yeah. So I figured, I've got to wear something. So so as regards to the channel, then what you've mentioned about like the upcoming Evil Dead Demons Dead Last. Is there anything else about the future of the channel that you can disclose, or anything that you'd like to do that you haven't got around to yet?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot happening this year. I've got a lot of stuff planned that's pretty cool. There's the 6th anniversary is this year, and actually will coincide with 100 episodes of movie timelines. So it'll be the 100th timeline. So I have something very special planned for that. That is probably going to be about 2 hours long. I think I'm going to split it up into multiple videos.
If this is the one that I think you've mentioned before, then that's going to be a big video.
Yes. So that I've got that coming up. There is going to be a new series launch this year. However, at the time being, I don't know exactly where that will happen.
Right.
And I can't quite say what it's going to be yet.
No, that's fine. Okay, leave them in anticipation.
Yeah, there's some things going on yet that are not fully cleared up, but there may be some exciting news in the future. We'll see what happens there. But yeah, for the most part, it's we continue on with the stuff. We've got a lot of Fun Dead Lasts coming up. It's probably the series I plot out the most in advance. We do the season finale. The season finale is going to be in June, where we figure out which was the worst movie of
my birthday month.
So
I get to watch the worst of the worst for my birthday. Great, thanks.
Yeah, yes, I love that a lot. Yeah, just a lot more horror stuff. The Monday videos are the Friday videos are always horror. The Monday videos are anything goes. So I want to try and dip into some more comedies. I've been wanting to do.
I've enjoyed the comedy ones that you've done.
Yeah, I've been wanting to.
It's just nice to see on your YouTube subscriptions. Movie Timelines does Police Academy. Or the Cheech and Chong. I'm just like, I'm watching that right now.
I know. I've been trying to do the Pink Panther movies for ages and ages and ages, and just I haven't done those. And in the near future, I want to do the Vice Academy movies, which are ones that are not very commonly known, but it's like Linnea Quigley and Ginger Lynn. It's like,
I was watching In Search of Darkness 2 the other day, and they mentioned the Vice Academy, and that was like, Jesus Christ, blast from the past.
Yeah.
No, so there's plenty upcoming for people to look forward to then. So I for one, I'll be looking forward to it, and I'll be putting in my Dead Last rankings when they go live for all the patrons. Certainly, I'm a patron, and I will be for a long time yet to come. I believe, Wow. So I actually remember a long time ago when I first found the channel, and I just devoured all of your content within about a week or so. I actually sent you an email at the time saying, found your channel, really enjoy it, wish I could be a patron, but funds weren't allowed right now. And you kindly wrote me back. You said, thanks for, at least watching. That's all I can ask for. And then when I was able to join the Patreon, I sent you another message and went, I told you I was going to do it. I've become a patron, and I'm not going anywhere. So, and nice. You and the guys welcomed me with open arms, and I'm glad to be there.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing I've tried to do since the beginning, and I still try to do, is I try to respond as much as I can, whether it's an email or comments. I've gotten to the point where it's kind of hard to reply to every comment, but it's like if there's a question asked in the comments, I will answer that question. And the email, I try to respond to every email that comes my way. I know that I can't get to every single one of them, but I mean, they're not that frequent that I can't. So I try to respond a lot to kind of, I want to be a little bit more of a personable like YouTube guy.
Yeah.
So I do try.
You're not one of those, hey guys, join my Patreon, you get more of me. You mentioned the Patreon at the end of the video. That's all you need to do. And your audience have found you and they've followed you there. They deem you worthy enough to throw some pennies out each month. So you're doing something right. Right. I know we're kind of pushed for time, so I do want to just wrap things up with a little bit of game. It's only going to take 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I've got 3 rounds. We're going to do 2 are lies, 1 is true. So basically, which is fake. So I've got in each round, I'm going to give you 3 titles of horror movies. You have to pick out the fake.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
I think I could do this.
Okay, right. So for round 1, we have the 3 following. Okay, so you've got Skeleton Key 2, 666, Neighbor of the Beast. You've got Camp Deadly, and you've got Clown Face. Not as easy as you thought it'd be, was it?
No, well, it's funny because Skeleton Key. I mean, there was a big budget Skeleton Key with, I think, is at Sarah Michelle Gellar, but I don't think that there was a sequel to that. But I also think that there's another series of films called Skeleton Key, which is unconnected to those. So I think that that's actually, I think that's true. I want to say that the incorrect one there is Clown Face.
So Skeleton Key 2, subtitle 666 Neighbor of the Beast, is real, and it is directed by a guy called John Johnson.
Yes. There's I think that there's like 4 or 5 of those, because it's something that I was a while ago, I was looking into doing a series on.
Right. Okay. And then the other two, you've got Camp Deadly and you've got Clown Face. You've gone for Clown Face as the fake. Clown Face is real. It's from 2019, directed by Alex Bourne. Camp Deadly was, I got the inspiration for that for Bart Simpson Escape from Camp Deadly, which was a Game Boy title from 1991.
That's awesome.
When I created these fake titles, I did check just in case there were real movies with these titles, but they're not. So, but I figured Camp Deadly, it's just enough to make you think it might be like a kind of Jason ripoff kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, that one was tough because I knew that the Skeleton Key one was. I felt pretty confident it was part of that series that I was aware of, but the other two was there's a 50-50 chance there.
Okay, so for round 2, we've got The Horror of Glam Rock, we've got Return of the Curse, and we've got Texas Terror Tales.
Oh my gosh. The first one is what was the first one?
The Horror of Glam Rock.
Glam Rock?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez. And then the
Return of the Curse.
And
then Texas Terror Tales.
I haven't heard of any of these ones, so I'm going to go.
I looked at the bottom of IMDb, not the very bottom, because I know, you've looked down there. I'm talking
yes.
Bottom third, at least.
I feel like the Horror of Glam Rock is so ridiculous that it has to be real. Texas Terror Tales, I feel like so. I'm going to go with the middle one because it's the most pedestrian sounding. And I feel like that the Return of the Curse, I feel like that is because that's the one that sounds the most plausible. So I feel like it's not plausible.
Well, Texas Terror Tales is an anthology movie from 2017, so that is real.
Yeah.
Then you've got Horror of Glam Rock and Return of the Curse. I'll let you know now. They are both real titles, but only one is a horror movie. Return of the Curse is a horror movie from 2006, directed by Chris Penny. The Horror of Glam Rock is a Doctor Who audio play from 2007.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Oh, man. All right.
Okay. And then for the final 3, you're not doing too well for,
I know. Seriously.
you got to redeem yourself now. Come on.
All right.
So for the final round, you've got Mannequin Challenge, Breakfast with Dracula, or Bloody Diarrhea.
Jesus Christ. All right. Well, so Bloody Diarrhea is definitely real.
I know, but is it a movie?
Yeah. Yes. I feel like I actually have heard of the movie Bloody Diarrhea, and I feel like it's one of those Bill is Above movies, but I don't know for sure. Give me the names of the first two again.
So the first two was Mannequin Challenge. Yeah, Mannequin Challenge or Breakfast with Dracula.
I feel like it's Mannequin Challenge. I feel like it's because I feel like I believe I've heard Breakfast with Dracula before, but I might be wrong there. Again, I feel like I'm doing very poorly here, but I feel like Mannequin Challenge is the not the correct title.
Okay, so Bloody Diarrhea, as you mentioned, is real. From 2015, it is a 50-minute long, technically a short movie, directed by Vladislav Krivenchuk.
Okay.
Mannequin Challenge and Breakfast with Dracula. And it's so hard for me to say Dracula because I'm used to saying Dracula just to wind people up who listen to the podcast. Breakfast with Dracula 1993, directed by Fabrizio De Angelis. Mannequin Challenge is correct. It was an internet fad from 2016.
All right, good. So I got one right there.
You got
right,
one.
good.
You got one
right there. So
so at least you didn't do a total wipe out there. But
yes.
For the guy who's Mr. Movie Timelines, Mr. Horror Timelines, I guess 1 out of 3 isn't bad.
No, hey, none of those were part of series. Damn it, that's
Skeleton Key 2 was a part of a series.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that about wraps things up for us then. So do you want to plug the channel? Any particular videos you want to plug, or the Patreon, or whatever? Yeah, this is your time. Do what you like.
Well, yeah. I mean, you could go check out Movie Timelines on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find. If you type in the words Movie Timelines, it's, I think, the only thing that comes up. And yeah, if you get a chance on the Patreon page, it's patreon.com/movie timelines. Basically every Friday you get new horror related content. I have 4 different shows. Every Friday you get a different one of those 4 shows. And then there are Monday videos, which are generally shorter. And they're anything goes. They're just whatever I feel like watching at the time. Monday, right now, just an hour ago, a VHS timeline went up. And on Monday, you're getting a really cool video that I think will be right up your alley, Mike. And it is superhero horror movies.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I will be definitely watching that one as soon as I go live at 6 p.m. because, that's right in the Venn diagram cross section for me.
I know. And I tried to avoid things I think that were kind of obvious. Like, you're not going to get any, like I don't know. I don't know.
No Brightburn.
No, Brightburn is there.
I really enjoyed that movie. Really enjoyed that movie.
I did not.
Really?
But there's no Hellboy, and I didn't put The Crow in there because I felt like that they are.
It's not really a horror movie, though, is it? Really?
Yeah, and plus they're a little bit more. They're just too obvious. Like, I mean, I tried to go with a little bit more different things. I actually do cover Brightburn, and I actually say right off the bat, I'm just like, I guess I have to include Brightburn. So
I really enjoyed it. It's because I like Elseworlds tales or what ifs, if you like. Yeah, I love all that stuff. And one of the very first Funko Pops I actually bought was the Red Sun Superman. There was a comic called Red Sun where if his ship had landed in Russia instead, and he grows up and becomes a Soviet superweapon. And so I this is like if Superman was a psychopath, basically a child psychopath. And I really enjoyed that film.
I wanted to like it. I really, really wanted to like it, and I was on board for like the first setup of the movie.
The cast is great.
Cast is great. Everyone does a really good job. But it just the movie just feels so surface level. I really wanted to get into the psychology aspect of an alien on our world that has to basically decide whether to embrace his mission or embrace the homeworld that has adopted him.
Yeah.
And I got none of that. I
guess he's kind of too willing to jump into, I'll be a bad guy then.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and there's no reasoning given for why he becomes a bad guy. He just goes from a wholesome all-American kid to being like a murderer like that. And they don't really
nature versus nurture aspect, really. Like he was programmed to be that way. That's why he was sent to Earth to conquer. So, but anyway,
and again, I wish the script had given me that, it's shown me that or delved into that. But it just wanted to show me people with their jaws ripped off. That's all. So.
That's a great effect. Obviously, as I say, digital effect, but still, it was good. I'm glad they showed it because that's one of the things that's for me that's really freaky out because I dislocated my jaw when I was a kid. So any jaw stuff, any eye stuff, and that movie has both. Yes.
Well, you'll get Brightburn and a bunch of other crazy superhero horror-y stuff on there. It's pretty fun. There's some fun stuff in there.
Okay, well, that about wraps things up then for us. So thank you, Josh, for coming on to the episode. It's been a lot of fun. You're welcome back anytime to jump on just like a regular episode if you want, or if you got 5 minutes even just to jump in and say hi, you're more than welcome to do so. So that wraps things up. So for the 50-Foot Nerds, then you can get in touch with us on Twitter at 50-Foot Nerds. Email 50footnerds@gmail.com. You got our Facebook, our Twitter, I've said Twitter. We got the YouTube, the website, everything. You've heard it all before. It's all there. Go to Linktree. I don't know the link off the top of my head, but yeah, we got a link. It's on the Twitter. Go to the Twitter. Go to the website. It's all there. Okay, so for this episode of the Attack of the 50-Foot Nerds, I'm Mike Bell. That's Josh Spiegel. Thank you for listening, and geek out. If you've enjoyed the nerdom in your ears, then why not follow us on Twitter at 50-Foot Nerds. You can follow Mike at Mike G. Bell, Amara at Voltsevexoth and at Amara Lunera, and Paul is on at Auton Scouser. Our website is 50footnerds.co.uk. That's FIFTYFOOTNERDS.co.uk. You can find all of our YouTube content at video.50footnerds.co.uk or search youtube.com/50footnerds. All of our episodes are archived over at bit.ly/50footnerdsarchive. That's 50FTNERDS archive. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/Attack of the 50-Foot Nerds. Email us at 50footnerds@gmail.com or join our Patreon at patreon.com/50footnerds. If you'd like to buy our merchandise, you can visit us over at tinyurl.com/50footstore. That's 50FT store. All of these links and more are available at our Linktree page. That's linktr.ee/50footnerds. FIFTYFOOTNERDS.